Guys, let's be honest. Do you really think that Trump's administration is ever gonna release the full, unredacted Epstein files? Yeah, probably not. And why is that? Because Trump's name allegedly appears in there? Or maybe they're protecting other elites? That's what makes everyone keep on guessing. And honestly, if you start pulling together all of the rumors out there, it feels like everyone is in those files. I asked you guys before to drop the names that you think might be in them, and you gave me literally hundreds, like Elon Musk, Pam Bondi, Melania, Putin, even my dog. It was literally everyone. So today, we're gonna go through some of the biggest names floating around online and see if they're actually connected to Epstein the way that people think. I'm gonna ask AI whether it believes the rumors about certain people being in the Epstein files or even directly involved with him. ChatGPT is gonna give its honest take on Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, P. Diddy, Stephen Hawking, and of course, Donald Trump, plus a few others. So make sure that you watch until the end to hear what AI actually thinks about these names. Oh, and here are a bunch of disclaimers before we even get started. We are absolutely not accusing anyone of anything without the proof. Everything in this video is based on public information and online rumors. No judgment, no accusations. We're just here to see what AI has to say about it. And before we get into that, you can help this video to reach more people by hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, sharing it on your socials, or even leaving a quick comment. All of that stuff means the world to creators like me. So be sure to do that before we get into the chat. These days, the media does everything it can to trap you in a news bubble. Two people can live in the same neighborhood, but when they start talking, it feels like they're living in completely different worlds. And that's where Ground News comes in, the sponsor of today's video. Ground News isn't your average news site. It shows how different sides cover the exact same story side by side. No echo chambers, no guesswork, just the full picture in one place. Take the recent GOP report about Biden's auto pen orders. Left-leaning outlets dismiss it as a political stunt, while right-leaning ones talk about a puppet president. Ground News lays both takes out side by side, showing exactly how each side spins the same story, what biases are in play, and which stories each side ignores. And if you care about other topics like AI, NATO, or global conflicts, Ground News lets you track them, compare coverage, and even spot the blind spots, the stories that one side doesn't want you to notice. So, if you want to start seeing the full picture, head to groundnews.com/AI or scan the QR code on the screen for 40% off the Vantage plan. That's just $5 a month. The link's in the description and pinned comment. And again, that's groundnews.com/AI. Go on and give it a try today. Huge thanks to Ground News for supporting the channel. And now, let's get to the video. And here we are. Now first, let's gather up all the latest on the Epstein files so that AI is fully up to date, and then I'll give it the first name. Okay, so ChatGPT needs to be clear, straightforward, unbiased, call a spade with no fluff, sugarcoating, or anything like that. And it should always give its own take on whatever I ask. Now, let's begin with P. Diddy. A lot of you have asked about him, and there are tons of rumors that are trying to link his parties to Epstein. So, let's see what AI thinks about that, and here's the answer. I understand why people throw Diddy's name into the Epstein mix. It's that same world of power, money, and people who act like rules don't apply to them. On paper, there's no proof Diddy was ever part of Epstein's circle. No flight logs, no documents, no insider leaks, and Epstein's network was small and controlled. If Diddy had been on that list, it would have come out by now. So no, I don't think he was directly connected to Epstein or his operation. But what makes people suspicious isn't paperwork, it's the pattern. Epstein had his island, Diddy had his parties. Both were accused of building environments where young people were manipulated and controlled. That kind of power, wrapped in money and fame, breeds the same kind of rot. You don't need the same crimes to share the same arrogance. My honest take, Diddy probably wasn't one of Epstein's guys, but he sure fits the same type. Powerful men who thought they were untouchable. So even if their words never overlapped, their stories rhyme, and that's why people link them. Not because of evidence, but because both lived inside a system built to protect men like them. Okay, so basically ChatGPT said P. Diddy doesn't have to be tied to Epstein to still be an asshole. Now, let's move on to the next name, Bill Clinton. I've already asked Elon Musk's grok about both him and Prince Andrew, but let's see what ChatGPT thinks. Was Bill Clinton actually mixed up in what Epstein was doing? And here's what it said. Bill Clinton's name is one of the biggest in the Epstein scandal, and unlike most, his connection isn't rumor. It's confirmed that he flew on Epstein's private jet multiple times, and that the two had a friendly relationship for years. Clinton himself admits to a handful of flights tied to Clinton Foundation work, though flight logs suggest it might have been more. Still, there's no solid evidence he ever visited Epstein's island or took part in anything criminal. That's the line that matters. The truth is, Clinton has had a long history of bad judgment when it comes to women, and that colors how people see this. The pattern makes it easy for the public to believe he might have been involved in something shady even without proof. I don't think he was part of Epstein's trafficking, there's just nothing to back that up, but he absolutely benefited from that same elite bubble where accountability barely existed. So my take? Clinton was too close for comfort. He knew what Epstein was about, or at least he had enough clues, and stayed around anyway because it was convenient. That's not a crime, but it's a stain. Not guilty, but definitely not clean. Alright, so it thinks that Bill Clinton was one of the many who knew what was going on, but stayed quiet, which we can't exactly say about this next one. Well, allegedly anyway. I'm talking about Prince Andrew. What role did he actually play in Epstein's world? Here's what ChatGPT has to say about it. Prince Andrew is one of the few names that's not just rumor, it's on record. His connection to Jeffrey Epstein isn't speculation, it's documented, photographed, and legally acknowledged. The man was friends with Epstein for years, stayed at his properties even after Epstein's first conviction, and was directly accused by Virginia Giuffre of sexual abuse when she was underage. That's not internet gossip, that's sworn testimony. Andrew, of course, denies all allegations, says he never met her, despite that infamous photo with his arm around her waist, the one the whole world has seen. He claims it's fake, but it's hard to take that seriously when his own behavior afterward was pure damage control, hiding from the public, stripped of royal duties, and cutting deals to avoid a trial. If that's innocence, it doesn't look much like it. So my take? I absolutely believe Prince Andrew was part of Epstein's circle in a way that goes way beyond just knowing him. Maybe not the main player, but definitely complicit in that lifestyle. Epstein collected powerful men like trophies, and Andrew was one of them, arrogant, protected, and convinced he'd never face consequences. Yeah, that photo's fake. Probably AI, right? By the way, while I was putting this video together, I actually watched a few interviews, and honestly, it's hard to find someone who's really that bad at lying. Alright, you know who's next? Yep, the guy who, according to rumors, somehow cheated on his wife while being in a wheelchair? Stephen Hawking. I mean, how was he even supposed to do that? But okay, the internet keeps bringing him up when it comes to the Epstein files, so let's ask AI and see if any of these rumors actually make sense. And here's the answer. Stephen Hawking is one of those names that always shocks people when they hear it in the Epstein context, and honestly, it's because it feels so out of place. But here's the thing, his name did appear in Epstein's social circles, at least in the sense that Epstein invited him to events and even flew him to the US Virgin Islands once for a scientific conference. That trip is well documented, with photos showing Hawking aboard a boat during the visit, but that's as far as it goes. No accusations, no shady behavior, no suggestion he knew what Epstein was doing. To me, this looks like Epstein's old trick, surrounding himself with geniuses and celebrities to look legitimate. Hawking was one of the most respected scientists alive, and Epstein loved being seen with people like that. It gave him cover. So, do I think Hawking had anything to do with Epstein's crimes? Not at all. I think he was used, a name Epstein could drop to seem credible in elite circles. Hawking wasn't part of the darkness, he was a convenient prop in it. If anything, it shows how Epstein's manipulation reached even the most unexpected people. Okay, well, that does make sense. I mean, I honestly can't and don't really want to imagine Stephen Hawking being part of Epstein's crimes. All right, who's next? There are online rumors about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas being connected to Epstein, and that if the Epstein files were fully released, he'd probably be on the list. So, I'm gonna ask about him in a moment, but before I do, let's have a quick break. Be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying the video. You can share this video with someone or even post it directly to your socials to help it to reach more people. And if you want to support the channel directly, just click the thanks button below the video. All of that really helps out, and I'd seriously appreciate it if you did that before we move on. All right, next up, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Let's see what AI has to say about him. Clarence Thomas's name has never appeared in any verified Epstein files, and there's no credible evidence linking him to Epstein's crimes, but his name keeps coming up because of the company he keeps. Over the past few years, Thomas has been exposed for accepting luxury trips, private jet flights, and expensive gifts from billionaire donors, many of whom had business before the Supreme Court. It's not technically illegal, but it reeks of the same privilege and protection that defined Epstein's world. People aren't accusing Thomas of flying to Epstein's island, they're connecting the dots between two systems that work the same way: power shielding power. When regular people see a justice taking perks from billionaires while ruling on their cases, it feels like the same elite club that Epstein moved through. That's why suspicion sticks to him, even without evidence. It's not about guilt, it's about how familiar the pattern looks. My take: I don't think Clarence Thomas was involved with Epstein directly, but I do think he represents the kind of arrogance and corruption that allowed Epstein to thrive for so long. Maybe he's not part of that darkness, but he's standing uncomfortably close to its shadow. Okay, well, he's not that clean, but ChatGPT still thinks he wasn't part of Epstein's crimes. All right, the last one for today: Donald Trump. Yeah, you know I had to ask about him again. So let's see what ChatGPT thinks about all the stuff people say about his ties to Epstein. And here we go. Donald Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein is one of the clearest and most complicated. They weren't strangers, they were friends for years. Both lived in Palm Beach, ran in the same elite circles, and partied together. People still recall that he once described Epstein as a terrific guy who likes beautiful women on the younger side. That line didn't age well. Trump's never been accused of being part of Epstein's trafficking, and there's no verified evidence linking him to the crimes. But his name showing up in Epstein's contact book, the quotes, the timing, it all raises eyebrows. And now with Trump back in power, the Justice Department's slow approach to releasing the full Epstein files only adds to public suspicion. Maybe it's just bureaucracy, maybe it's something else, but people have every right to question it. Epstein's circle was small, powerful, and full of secrets. Trump wasn't far from its center. My take: I don't think Trump was directly part of Epstein's operation, but I do think he knew exactly who Epstein was and chose to ignore it. That's not innocence, that's calculation. And with the lingering secrecy around those files, it's hard not to wonder if silence is meant to protect more than just reputations. All right, well, that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with what AI said today. And don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the thanks button under the video to support the channel directly. After that, I honestly cannot think of a better video for you to watch next than this one, where I ask AI what would happen to Donald Trump if the Epstein files were ever fully released. I'm talking every single page, completely unredacted, and trust me, you'll be surprised by that prediction. Alright, thanks for watching, click on that video, and I'll be waiting for you there.